Have you ever noticed how certain situations in your adult life can stir up feelings that seem way bigger than what's actually happening? You find yourself feeling left out, unseen, or not good enough. And you can't quite figure out why it hits so hard. Well, this week on Survivor, I watched something that showed me that exact thing in real time. I mean, I see it all the time with my clients and even myself, but I saw it on Survivor. And it reminded me how deeply our past experiences still live inside of us. Welcome to the Courageous and Confident Christian Mom Podcast. I'm your host, Marcy Owen. I'm an advanced certified life coach. I'm trained in nervous system regulation, and I'm also a story coach. I'm happy you're here today. Welcome. I'm going to show you how to manage your mind, regulate your nervous system, and to heal from the stories you've been believing from your life experiences. I'm your self-love and confidence coach, and I will show you how to care about yourself and to stand in your power so that you can be free to live and do what you came here to do. It's your time to shine, my dear. Lessons from Survivor about healing old wounds. Well, hello there. Welcome back to the podcast today. I am so happy that you are here, and I hope that you're having a good day. I am really excited about what I have to share with you today, because if you know me, you know that I love Survivor. I am like hooked on it. And like a couple of summers ago, my husband and I, we'd never watched it up to that point. And we decided that we wanted to watch, like see what it was all about. Because my son and daughter-in-law, they love it. And so we started at episode 1. They're on we started on season 1, episode 1, and they're on season 49 now. So it has been around for over like 20 years. And it took us a year to get through all the seasons. And now we're caught up live. We can't binge watch it. You have to wait 1 week at a time. Dang it. But I love Survivor. And so my coach brain isn't all the way turned off as I'm watching it. I notice people's personality. I notice what's going on. And that was the case for episode 3 of season 49. So if you haven't watched it yet and you're a fan, I'm just going to let you know there's a little bit of a spoiler alert here. Okay. But before I get into it, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. If you haven't yet, please follow the show and give me a rating and a review. 5-star would be preferable. I'd really appreciate it, because this tells the algorithm, hey, look over here at this Marcy Owen girl and her podcast. Let more people know about her. I need your help. So please give me a rating and review. You know what? Better yet, share the episode with a friend or a loved one. Share it on your stories in your social media. I would really appreciate your support that way. And I also just want to mention a couple things. I am building a community called Self-Love University. You've been listening for a while. You've heard me mention it, but I want to mention it again to you if you're not part of it, and to the new people that are here listening. It is a beautiful community of belonging and connection, of learning, of healing, of growth. And come with us. Come with us and join us. Be part of this group of amazing people, amazing women that are on a similar journey. It is such a beautiful space. It's experiential. We do 3 calls a month. And I'm going to drop the link in the show notes for you to learn more about it. But I would love to have you join me. Okay. Other ways that you can work with me is private coaching, one-on-one, super powerful way. We can get a lot. There's a lot that we do that you can grow and progress in Self Love University. And if you want to take it to a whole other level, private coaching, I have a few openings there that you might want to check out as well. We can schedule a consult, and the link's in the show notes as well. Okay. So let's dive in, shall we? One of the contestants this season, her name is Sage. Like I was saying, she shared something that my coach brain picked right up on it. She felt like she was not fitting in with her tribe. She was getting really uneasy. She felt like everybody else was having conversations. They were going off alone and nobody was with her. And so she was feeling like an outsider and becoming fearful that, that is not good on Survivor, and that she was going to affect her ability to stay in the game longer. Then they'll pull them off just alone, and they're sharing something about their experience. And she opened up and shared how when she was in grade school, she thought she had friends, but her experience was that they just moved on without her. They left her out. And she got emotional when she talked about it. As she said that this has been done, was a theme that she experienced all throughout junior high, all throughout high school. And now here she was in Fiji as an adult, living that same story all over again. She was afraid, this is happening. And with all the trainings and the certifications that I have had as a coach, I recognized that what was really happening beneath the surface, Sage, like present day Sage in 2025, had taken a back seat. And little young Sage, from growing up in school, she was the one that was there on the island of Fiji. She was, because she became activated, she had her nervous system was triggered. And this part then has protective parts that don't want little Sage that was hurt in her school during her school years. They want to protect her from getting hurt. So that part, her protective parts, stepped forward. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about how all this works, but it's just really powerful to know that when we have an experience and then an emotional reaction to that doesn't quite line up with the situation, it feels like bigger and kind of dangerous. That's how you know that it's something from your past that's triggered you, that your nervous system has been like, this is familiar and this is bad. We're going to get hurt. Our parts all have parts. And again, I'm going to explain this in just a minute, but the nervous system and the parts, they work together. And you see Sage, who she is on the surface, but inside, it's her younger self that's activated and that's in charge. And that because she doesn't know about this, then 2025 Sage is not in charge and is not calling the shots. This made me think about my grandbabies. My son and his daughter-in-law just had identical twin baby boys. And here's the thing that where my brain went to is when we are born, we come into this world whole, as our whole little self. Okay. Unless our birth mom experienced some trauma or a lot of dysregulation while we were in utero, we arrive whole and perfectly wired for safety and love and connection. But what happens is when we do have experiences like going through school and feeling left out, like stages, there's chips of us that gets fragmented off of our whole being, our whole little self. And the fragments that come off can be big and they can be small. Each time we get rejected or we feel unseen or we feel unsafe, little parts of us fragment off. Okay. And those parts, they're inside of us. They stay with us. I want you to think about like they're connected to the whole part of us by their own invisible umbilical cord. Okay. But they are frozen in time. They are stuck in the time when that experience happened. So for Sage, elementary school, like school age Sage, that part of her that fragmented off of her whole being, she's still in school. She's still experiencing what she did in school. And then when in present day, when she has any type of similar situation come up, her nervous system, it picks up on it because your nervous system is always scanning for danger. It neurocepts, meaning exteroception and interoception. Okay. So it's reading inside of you what's going on with your breathing, your muscles. Are they tense? Is your heartbeat going faster? Is your breathing faster? Like what's going on inside of you? Is your mind racing? And then exteroception is what's going on outside of you. It's reading people's faces and if they look friendly or not, their tone of voice, their lack of attention or not. It's reading if their body language is posturing and rigid or if it's soft and looks safe and warm. It reads the conditions of the area that you're in too. So for Sage, here she is in her tribe, and her nervous system picks up like, uh-oh, this seems a lot like when I was in school. And then that part of her that's still connected with an umbilical cord, so to speak, she gets woken up. She's a wounded part of you. And then we feel that all those same emotions. And sometimes it feels childlike. Sometimes it feels dangerous. A lot of times it feels dangerous. It just doesn't quite match up with the way it feels inside. It doesn't quite match up with what we're experiencing. I mean, sometimes it does, but we're still like not able to respond from our adult self, so to speak, because we have these parts inside of us. And this part, this wounded part, then has protective parts that are developed by our subconscious because their whole job, and it's extreme, is to protect that wounded part of you so she never hurts again. So we don't take risks. We don't try new things. We're quiet or we get defensive. It depends. It depends. Or we can be really needy, or we can people please. Okay. So they have protectors that are then come online when the wounded child, so to speak, cries, like, oh no, I'm hurt, like the young sage. Okay. And so I like to think of these protectors as they're like guards standing gate, standing at the gate of our heart, right? So here's the thing I want to say about this is like our parts have stories about whatever happened to us. This belief system is created. And it's coming from when we were younger and we weren't emotionally able to actually make sense of things in a logical way. But not knowing that, we then carry that. It's like our operating system, and we just keep operating from these old beliefs that aren't even true or accurate. They're just wounded parts waiting for compassion and care. And like I was saying, our subconscious, like that wants to protect us, and these protectors are created and they're guarding our heart and always on alert. So for Sage, the situation in Fiji felt so similar as to when she was a child in school. So when we have, I love to look at it this way too. I'd failed to mention this. When we have these experiences, it makes like an imprint on our nervous system. And remember, it's stuck in time. It got activated by, oh, this looks and feels really similar to going, in school. And then she becomes dysregulated. Sage became dysregulated. And that internal guard, that protector was stood up and was ready to protect her. So then she wanted to do something about it and talk to somebody that she thought she could trust, which that person was not someone that she could trust. And that person goes to the ringleader and says, hey, Sage was thinking you're the one that anyway. And that ringleader is all worked up about Sage and wants to get rid of her, And so it's important and that's kind of what her young self probably wanted to do when she was in school. She wanted to try to connect with somebody so that she could belong, so she could feel safe, and so she could feel like she's good. So she tried. We'll see how it works out for Sage. But I'm just like, uh-oh, right? So I've talked about the wounded part. I've talked about the protective parts. And then I've briefly mentioned the resource self. And the resource self is our present day self. She's been through lots of experiences. She's not stuck in the past. She's here today. And she's wise, she's grounded, she's compassionate. And this part also knows how to take care of the wounded parts and how to give the protective parts, like give them a break. You can stop trying so hard to protect me. She knows how she can learn how to heal the fragments, like to cut the umbilical cord, so to speak, so that then you can gently integrate those pieces back into your wholeness, bringing all the strengths and who you've become because of what you've been through. Okay. So I found that very fascinating. All the timing of the twins being born, and they're just these perfect little spirits, these little beings, and they're whole. They haven't had fragments chipped off of them yet. And then seeing Sage and what she was experiencing, it just gets my heart as a coach, because that is the most powerful work that I do for myself and with my clients. I love it. It is so powerful and healing. We don't have to be stuck with those parts in the past and letting them run the show. That's the thing. If you don't remember anything else that I said today, I would love for you to remember that it's not just about your personality. It's not just your personality. It's a part. that's stuck in the past and a protective pattern that wants you to behave a certain way to keep you safe. And that's the work that we do in Self Love University and in my private coaching. Okay, I want to move on to a second lesson about that was on Survivor on that episode. So, another contestant on a different tribe, he had a very different experience than Sage. He was doing really well and he was a strong, big guy. And he had a great group together, alliance. He's sitting at the ocean with his just at the edge where the waves come up. And this highly poisonous sea snake comes up and bit him on the foot. They got him quickly. They got him over to the medics and got him all taken care of. But thankfully, it was a dry bite. But because his team had no water, hardly any water, no food, they were really, really, really struggling. And he's a big guy. And so what he had been through physically for 6 or 7 days, and then emotionally wondering if he was going to live or not. And his wife's going to have a baby any day, and he was going to miss it on Survivor. The doctors decided to not put him back into the game. They decided that he needed care. He needed to be nurtured and fed and taken care of and not to be put back in those harsh conditions. And so he was heartbroken, but he understood. So what I loved about that is that the team, the medics, they valued him. They valued him as a person, not trying to win $1 million, but they valued his safety and his well-being over everything else. And so I love that that is a really important lesson of how, we need to do that for ourselves too. That it's okay to say, that doesn't work for me. It's too much. I can't do it. Or taking ourselves on a walk when we think we should be working or doing something else, or resting. A lot of us have a really hard time resting because we feel like we've been socialized growing up that our worth is in the doing or being a certain way. And so we have to perform a certain way. That's proving energy. And we don't have to do that at all. We're already worthy. It's okay for us to rest. You don't have to prove anything. And again, that's more work. I coached someone in the Self Love University today on that exact thing. So here's what I hope for you. I hope that you do value your well-being instead of the expense of it, that you matter, that you're allowed to rest and restore, and you're allowed to take up space and receive the same love and care that you so freely give to others. So that is what I have for you today. I would love for you to remember that you aren't stuck, you aren't broken. We just need to know what's going on when we get triggered and we have these emotional responses that kind of slap us upside the head and throw us for a loop. They might send us into spiral thoughts. They might make it so that we feel so big with our emotions that we're like, what's going on for me? And we feel real anxious or overwhelmed or scared or sad. We need to know what's behind that, what's underneath it, because I promise you it can be healed. Okay. You don't have to just keep operating from that. We want to take care of those parts of us that need what they didn't get, what that wounded part of you didn't get at that time. That's what we want our adult self to now do for the wounded parts. That's how we heal. That's how we change the way we react. We're able to respond instead. And that we get to dictate how we want to show up and what we want to do with our life and feel more peace. Okay. So that is, and then to value, ourselves and give ourselves the self-care that we need instead of thinking we can't because we have to like go do some things that will supposedly give us our value or that it's not okay to rest. No, no, that's not what courageous and confident women and men do. We see the big picture. We can see what's going on with us and what's going on we learn how to pull away a little bit and observe what's going on. And then there's that space in between stimulus and response. When you learn what's going on, then you can decide what you want to think about it instead of a younger part of you doing the thinking for you. You don't want that. We do not want that. They're a child. They're dysregulated. I just want you to remember this. Okay. Your nervous system, it remembers the pain. It's stuck in the past. But your soul remembers who you truly are and your wholeness. And that every part of you, they belong. They're not bad. They're our story and what we've been through in our life. They're not bad. We want to make it so that we want to help them so that they are healed and loved compassionately and understood. And then I want you to also remember that every part of you is worthy of love and safety. All right. Thank you for listening today. And until next time, be kind to your heart. Know your well-being, value it, and keep coming home to you. Okay. I will talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to the Courageous and Confident Christian Mom podcast. If you're interested in taking what you learned on this podcast to the next level, we have to talk. Schedule a free clarity call with me. Go to www.marcyowen.com and schedule your free call with me. You're one decision away from the life that you want.